this is not a one-off. This is not somebody being mean to you. This is not the person with the sassy attitude, once in a while. This is consistent, directed, and intentional, malicious actions towards a person.
Hello and welcome back to Healing and Growing Hand in Hand podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Tickle, and today we've got Dr. Deborah Dantzler, and we are going to talk about narcissistic abuse. And I'm just going to say this real quick. We were talking before we were recording, but it's a buzzword, and we're going to get some clarity today because that's a word that a lot of people may not understand the true definition, and it's a word that's thrown around a lot. And it's almost like we used to use, instead of copying, we're going to Xerox something. And so that word just kind of gets thrown around and it kind of diminishes the meaning of the word. So, but before we get started, I wanted to read her biography. So Dr. Debra is a chief geek at Third Psychotherapy LLC. I love that. About 12 years ago, she started the practice. At the time, she was working in residential drug and alcohol treatment for homeless men. Service work was her passion, and she never imagined she would leave it. She enjoyed working with people in recovery. At the same time, it was difficult to witness the pain experienced by friends and family members of the residents. The desperation and frustration from trying to control their loved ones' disease were deeply troubling. And Dr. Debra built her private practice around the idea of creating a safe space for those individuals. So there's more about her bio, and we'll have it in the show notes. But I also wanted to read a message that you put in there's a form that a lot of the guests complete. Gives me a little background about them. And there was a message that she wanted to share with her listeners. And I put it here, and I wanted to share it because I thought it was really, I really liked it. So, the scars of grief and the complex road of narcissistic abuse recovery can often lead to deep-rooted feelings of inadequacy, spiraling into depression, anxiety, and even affecting those with ADHD. It's in these moments that you might find yourself battling emotions that seem unmanageable, all due to the wounds inflicted by someone you once trusted. Remember, the gateway to reclaiming your life starts with a safe space to courageously engage in this transformative work. Dr. Debra, thank you for joining us today. I love that.
Thank you for having me. Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about narcissistic abuse. But before we get started on that, why don't you tell us a little more about yourself? We heard a little bit about your bio, very impressive. But tell me a little more about you.
Oh, sure. So I am a doctorate level licensed professional counselor. I'm licensed in Georgia and Florida. And I own a group practice here in Decatur, Georgia, called 3D Psychotherapy, where we work with insecure overachievers to help bring serenity to their chaotic world using our proprietary framework based in psychodynamic psychotherapy.
Oh, wow. I like that. That's awesome. So let's get into narcissistic abuse, and why don't we start it? Because one of the things I like to do on the podcast is define these words, because we can all have a different understanding of, what is narcissistic abuse? Other people could have, everybody could have a different, definition of that word. So why don't you tell us what the definition of narcissistic abuse is?
Okay. All right. So that's a great question. So narcissistic abuse is the experience that one has when interacting on a consistent basis with another individual that is demonstrating narcissistic traits that then wind up, these behaviors of this other person then wind up kind of collecting like residue on this other person. And
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And and I say death by 1,000 paper cuts, right?
Yeah.
This residue that winds up on the other person. And we've been commonly calling that narcissistic abuse, right? And we talked a little bit about how we're trying to reframe and change some of this language and understanding. And so that way because this word narcissism, it's really it's been drugged through the popular streets, and there's not like, for a lot of people, sometimes they think, oh, this person was mean to me, they're a narcissist. Oh, this
Yes.
person was rude to me, they're a narcissist. Or this person wouldn't held their boundaries, and so
Mm.
now they're selfish and they're a narcissist. And that's not what actually being a narcissist means. So according to the DSM-5, a narcissistic personality disorder, um really, there's only about 6 or 7% of the entire population that actually qualifies to
Mm.
meet the clinical diagnostic criteria of our DSM-5 for narcissistic personality disorder. So all of the stuff that we're seeing with humans and how they're showing up, these are really personality traits,
Okay.
right? These are behaviors that um um, do not necessarily qualify as the diagnostic criteria, but that doesn't mean they don't cause harm. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're not hurting people. Just because you're not going to tick all the things under the DSM-5 does not mean that those behaviors and those traits are not harmful.
Right, right, exactly. No, that's so true. And y- and so I once had an expert say that there's almost like a spectrum, right, when it comes to narcissistic behavior. And you've got the people who have the just kind of the narcissistic traits, right, all the way to the narcissistic personality disorder. And so it's on a spectrum. And that kind of helped me understand it a little more. And I think on the low end, well, let me back up, because it's my understanding that narcissists are kind of created, right? And it comes from their childhood. And so it's kind of created, and it's unfortunately a coping mechanism that they had to build up over time because of their situation that they were in, correct?
So yes, what we know to be true, what the research has shown, is that um, people who show up and we commonly call narcissists, that their origin story usually has a deep hole of insecurity here, right? You think about like Iron Man,
Mm-hmm.
in the Iron Man movie, and he has that part, that big giant hole in his center that he kind of takes out and puts in. That's what I think about when I think about a narcissist. They have a giant hole of insecurity, and
Mm.
they're always trying to protect that insecurity by kind of
Yes.
lashing out and feeding that insecurity, feeding that hole by, with their supply, with kind of doing these things to other people that kind of fill them, that kind of give them that sense of um power, right?
Is
Because it
that
really
what
is about power, right?
is that what it is? Because that's what I don't understand. That's the one thing I was trying to wrap my head around. Like, I was sharing with you before we started the recording that my second husband was absolutely 100% narcissistic behavior. I mean, he
Hmm.
gaslighted, he did crazy stuff.
Hmm.
And it was and every 3-day weekend he would start something on Friday, right? And
Yeah.
it wouldn't get settled until Monday. And I'm like, where the hell did that come from? Like, I have no idea. And I'm like, why do you create so much drama in your life? I don't understand. Like, I'm all about peace. I lived in chaos for years.
Hmm.
My goal now is to live in peace. So the last thing I want to do is stir up drama. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore.
Hmm.
So that makes sense. So the whole thing for them is that power helps cover that insecurity, kind of.
Yeah, it's covering, it's protecting that core of insecurity, which is why if you've ever confronted a narcissist or challenged them or told them, "Oh, you're wrong about that,"
Yeah.
you're immediately probably going to get some rage
Oh
response,
yeah.
right? Because again, there anything that can remotely show a crack in their whatever the persona and mask, either the
Yeah.
grandiose or the victimy, woe is me, I could have been
Oh
a
yeah.
contenta, whatever type of narcissist it is, it's all this shield to with this what they want to show the world. But as soon as you peek behind the curtain, and you show any kind of crack in them, they lash out, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's punishment and
They
re
turn on you and they twist the whole story, and all of a sudden it's 100% your fault.
yes, because they're that inability to accept personal accountability and responsibility.
Yeah, they
Right?
don't.
And so because to be able to take accountability and responsibility, you have to have a level of true vulnerability and personal insight and recognize that for yourself. And they can't do that because that hole that was blasted through them and left that gaping wound is just too raw, and they're not going to uh you know first they're not going to be able to let anybody see that or get close to that. So,
Healing is hard, but healing alone is even harder. If you're craving connection with women who get it, the women's healing community is here for you. There's no judgment, only real conversations, healing tools, and a circle of support. Click below to sign up now.
Yeah, and they can't let that facade down because they've been carrying this facade for so long, right? I had heard one time, and I thought this was really interesting. It was on my podcast that, somebody who's had a lifetime of living in a narcissistic behavior, I guess I'll say, because I don't know if they're narcissist, if they're more than that, but that they won't be at that place in their life. They'll never get to that place where they'll go, God, and reflect and own their stuff, because their entire life would be a lie, and that would be too much.
yeah, it is one of the things that we have to help clients when we're working with them who have been impacted by interacting with narcissists, to get to that place of radical acceptance that this person is highly unlikely to be different, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not impossible because we're humans and we have neuroplasticity and yada yada, but in order to make a change, you have to be aware there's a problem.
Ooh,
And for
yeah.
the most part, they don't ever see that they're the problem. It's that constant deflection and blaming and putting out to everybody else. Well, if this person had only, or if this
Mm-hmm.
situation had only, but the ability to do that inner work of introspection is just lacking there, just like lacking the empathy for others.
So they really honestly do not see their part in this. They really, like, if they've got the victim mindset and it's your fault, they really honestly believe that.
Yes,
Oh my
they
goodness.
definitely believe that that woe is me, like if it wasn't for this thing or this person and that, yeah, that it's always somebody else's responsibility, and somebody else to point the finger at. And when a person who has narcissistic traits does apologize,
Mm-hmm. It's, yeah.
or like in that hoovering stage, because you're familiar with the stages, obviously, right?
Why don't you
So you
share
have
them?
the
What?
so we have the love bombing,
Mm-hmm.
right, which is at the very beginning. Charm, 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 right? And then after they are done with love bombing,
Because they've
right,
got you now, right? They've hooked you.
there is nothing that the person experiencing this can do, say, or way they could be that's going to make that. They have no control in this.
Yeah.
They tell you it's your fault. They tell you if only you had done this or that or the other thing, that they would still be love bombing you. But obviously they're not using that word. But the reason things have turned south are because of something that the other person has done, right? But it really doesn't. It's literally when they get tired. It's like
Oh,
when they are done playing the love bomb game, usually by that time, because they are so charming, because they've put in these grand gestures with the love bombing, it's usually not that difficult to kind of get a person hooked, and
yeah.
they seek their prey.
Yes.
They seek their prey, so they know how to use which love bombing techniques to make sure that person's on the hook. So they could know a person could be on the hook and they could still be love bombing them, but when they're done, they're like, I'm done this love bombing. I'm going to go ahead and start with my paper cuts.
You know what?
Mhm.
And that's so true, because I'll tell you my experience with my late husband that was a narcissist when we were we weren't even dating yet. We were just getting to know each other, and then we started dating. And what and I know that a lot of times narcissists go after like empathic kind of people, right?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh,
So I felt safe, which was one of the first times I kind of felt safe. He made a safe
uh-huh,
environment, which he was good at.
uh-huh.
So
That's
I
good.
start sharing. I start sharing and sharing and
Uh-huh.
sharing. When I look back on it now, I think he never shared. He never shared. It was always
Yeah.
me sharing. And then when the mask came off, all that stuff that was where I was vulnerable and I
Mm-hmm.
shared some stuff, boy, did he throw that in my face.
Yep, he weaponized all of that. So they go through this process of data collecting,
Yes.
and then they weaponize the data that they've collected.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you, I've got some really good questions. I don't usually lock us into questions, but actually when I was doing the research for us, I thought, oh, I found some really good questions. And
Okay.
some of these are actually mine, but what does this kind of abuse rewire the brain's stress response? And what does that mean for long-term mental health?
Oh, that's a great question.
See, I told you.
So that is a great question. So the question is, can you read it one more time?
Yes. How does this kind of abuse rewire the brain's stress response? And what does that mean for long-term mental health?
Okay, excellent. Okay. Humans, right? All of us. In our autonomic nervous system, we have obviously our break, which is the parasympathetic, which is the thing that calms us down
Mm-hmm.
and we're chill. And then we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is the thing that gets activated and puts us into action, right? So what happens is for all humans, right? We have this part of our autonomic nervous system that's going scanning all the time. Is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? Danger, 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 right?
Right.
So once the brain identifies a threat and goes danger, 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 a few things happen naturally biologically. It's like a cascade of dominoes. So first thing is our heart rate increases, our
Mm-hmm.
breathing becomes more shallow, our prefrontal cortex shuts down, adrenaline goes up, cortisol goes up, um, our skin starts to become sweaty. We can be able to hyper focus.
Yeah.
And so this happens. This is automatic. This is the
Mm-hmm.
same system that controls our blinking, our breathing. This is stuff that happens automatically. It's not a choice whether this happens, right? So the brain is always scanning. Danger, danger. All of these things start to happen, right? And it puts us into our natural response of to that of either fight or flight, right? And then if we try to fight and we realize we can't, it's a lose-lose situation, or we feel trapped because we can't fly, like we can't get away, then that goes to freeze, right? And then we freeze, or we can sometimes fawn our way out, like, oh, try to,
Yeah.
charm our way out. But that's even rarer because again, our prefrontal cortex has shut down. And then if we really are stuck in that perceived danger by the brain, then
Mm-hmm.
eventually we're going to disassociate. We're going to leave our
It's too
body,
much. It's too
right?
much,
It's
right?
exactly the brain has one job: keep this thing healthy and safe and alive.
Mm-hmm.
So if the thing that if the attack and the is too much, the brain's like, time to go, and then we
Yep.
disassociate, and we can't remember things that we're not there for, right? Because the brain has now left. So I'm saying
Yeah.
all of that to contextualize. Think about, because again, as we talk about narcissistic abuse and some of these new terms, which maybe we'll get to, which is antagonistic personality and antagonistic relational stress, this is not a one-off. This
Mm.
is not somebody being mean to you. This is
Yeah.
not the person with the sassy attitude, once in a while. This is consistent, directed, and intentional,
Oof.
malicious
Yes.
actions towards a person. So basically that person is like this at this point. Is it safe? Is it safe? Danger, 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 danger. So
Yeah.
running on adrenaline and cortisol,
Mm-hmm.
and their prefrontal cortex is shut down, and so they find themselves being very forgetful, losing their keys or missing
Yeah,
appointments.
there's a
They're
lot of confusion, right?
It's a lot of confusion, right?
Yeah.
I call it being knocked off your square. You kind of feel a little disoriented at all
Yes.
times because of that. But your heart is racing constantly. Your blood pressure is up. Your stomach is flipping. So there's a lot of long-term consequences, both physically and mentally, if somebody stays in these relationships,
Yes.
right? And physically, obviously, with that adrenaline and cortisol and things like that happening, high blood pressure, maybe heart disease, maybe obesity, because there's lots of physical things that happen.
Sure.
But you asked about the mental and emotional, right? And so what that starts to look like is we start to show signs of anxiety, right? That self-doubt, that I call it the slap kiss cycle from the narcissist,
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
Right? That slap kiss cycle will always have us second guessing ourselves.
Yes.
What did I do wrong? Did I not put the paper in the right place? Did I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Did I? So we're always going to stay keyed up and on edge, right? So that's really going to show up with anxiety. It can interrupt our sleep, right? It can
Yeah.
interrupt our eating patterns. We're going
Yeah.
to either eat a lot, try to eat our way out of it, or we're
Mm-hmm.
going to not eat at all and then lose a lot of weight and become emaciated and things like that. But so anxiety is one, and then
Yeah.
the other is depression,
Yeah.
because when we're in that slap kiss cycle, the messaging is, well, it's your fault. I'm
Yeah.
treating you this way because you're doing something wrong.
And you're
And
sitting
when
here
we
trying to go, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? I
exactly,
I don't know what I did.
exactly. And so that can lead to experiences of depression,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And so the anxiety and the depression um are really the most prominent things that we see and people coming kind of into therapy, and
One
not
more thing.
recognizing.
Sorry, I didn't mean
Again.
to interrupt you. One thing that I thought I would add to it that I experienced
Uh-huh.
is the not knowing what I'm walking into all the time, right?
Yes.
Walking
Mm.
on eggshells, like, okay, is he in a good mood this time? Is he in a bad? And watching and getting that. That's the thing that's exhausting because it puts you in survival mode, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And next thing you know, you're watching every move. And the freaky thing about it is we could be having a normal conversation like this, take a
Uh-huh.
break, come back, and he's angry at the world.
Yep.
What the hell just happened? Like we literally were sitting here having a conversation, and that screws with your head. You have that done with you
Absolutely.
enough times.
Yes, absolutely. Because not only does that activate the anxiety, but that's constant sense of self-doubt, and
Yeah.
like you said, walking on the eggshells, because at any given moment, you're literally walking across a minefield. You don't know
Y-
which step is going to be the one that's going to cause the explosion, and and there's always that internalized second guessing of, because again, the messaging is you control this. So there's always that puts it in here, like, well, what if I do this? Or what if I do this? Or I shouldn't do this? Or I should do this? If oh my goodness, this person talked to me in line at the supermarket. If I don't tell him, he's going to say I was cheating with that
Oh
person.
my God.
So, like, it's like your brain never gets permission to turn off when you're
Yeah.
in a relationship with these kinds of people. And that is now what we're calling antagonistic relational stress, which is narcissistic abuse, tomato, tomato, right? It's like
Right, right, right.
the newer model
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
same thing.
2.0, right?
Yes, whatever, right?
That's interesting. So that makes sense. And so, I was able to get out of my narcissistic relationship, and I'm, thank you, Lord, in a beautiful relationship now that is not anything like that. But I have worked with a lot of women who've been
Mhm.
in them, and it is, the hardest part is especially for the women who have children with them, right?
Yes, yes. And that's a part of something that we don't really kind of talk about, in that the whole arc of coercive control, right? When we talked about the cycle, right? So we got love bombing, then we've got the paper cuts of the being highly critical, very rigid, gaslighting, manipulating,
Mm-hmm.
belittling, all of that, entitled, dysregulated emotions. We've got all that stuff going on. And then if the person tries to leave the narcissist, then we've
Yes.
got the hoovering, right? They try to hoover you back in, and then that cycle kind of just starts all over
It's a
again.
cycle.
But
Yep.
it's a cycle. But one of the things that we don't talk about is um, while they're doing this, to prevent the person from leaving, so they don't have to hoover them back in, they try to lock them down.
Yep.
And some of the ways they try and are able to lock them down are financial coercive control,
Yep.
children, which is parental coercive control, right? Like it is it's not impossible, but it is extremely challenging to co-parent with a narcissist,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then there's other ways that they try to exert um, these methods of control to keep the person locked in so that they don't think they can leave. So it's great
Yeah.
that you were able to leave, that you were able to, it sounds like you were almost naturally practicing what our proprietary framework here
Yeah.
is that we work with our clients in. It's awareness, acceptance, and action.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, and they're so slick with it, again, because if you walked up and you met your ex-husband and he said on day one, I have very violent mood swings. I'm going to criticize you. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to tell you bad things about yourself, and I'm going to accuse you of things you never did. You'd be like, get out of here, dude. I don't
Right.
know. I don't want that. I'm not signing up for that. Nobody signs up to be in a relationship with a narcissist. They sign up to be in a relationship with the representative they present at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. On a podcast, I was asked a question one time, and I've brought it up several times on my podcast, but if childhood abuse or trauma is left unhealed, will that person end up in a violent relationship later on, or some form of domestic violence? And I said, it's yeah. Yeah. And so, yes, if left unhealed, because for me, and I look back and I can see, like with my parents, I can see narcissistic, especially with my mom,
Uh,
narcissistic behavior. So that was my norm. So it makes
uh-huh.
sense that I ended up in those relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was an empath as well, right?
Yes. Oh gosh. You were a juicy steak to the predator,
Yes. Times
right?
two.
Yes. Yes. All the things that make you like wonderful, compassionate, and caring, and starting this podcast and being of service and helping so many women out here are the things that were like juicy for them. They wanted
Yes.
to get their teeth in that. And a lot of times when I work with clients, they really struggle with kind of a little bit of like, why me, or what did I do wrong, right? And
Yeah.
the thing is, what I say is, a lion doesn't go after the gazelle with the broken leg laying on the ground. They'll eat that. Sure, they'll eat it. But they want to
The
conquer
challenge.
the best and fastest and brightest gazelles. They
Yeah.
want the challenge. They need the pursuit, so they get the kill. Like, they need that. That's part of that cycle as
You're
well.
right. You're right. That is absolutely so true. Because when I look back on my life and I look at what some of my friends have gone through, the other thing that they like to do in all this is isolate you. So they like
Yes,
to get rid
yes.
of your friends, your family, and get you alone. And that right there was his
Mm-hmm.
fatal mistake with me, is he
Mm-hmm.
knew how close I was with my son, and he
Mm-hmm.
tried to put a wedge between us. And I called him out on that. And it was when he started, amping that up a little bit, that's when I
Mm-hmm.
decided I'm done. I'm done. No, I'm done. And and like I told you, it was interesting that I knew what to do, even though I didn't know what to do. I
Mm-hmm.
first, and I give it to God. God gave it to me because I for some reason knew that I couldn't say a word to him, that I had to just quietly leave. Like I literally was saving my money. I was going to go rent a room. I was going to leave with my clothes. I was going to completely start over. I was going to
Yes.
sign divorce papers. I wanted
Hmm.
zero from him. I wanted nothing from him. And then I was going to completely cut him off. And I didn't know at the time that that's exactly what you need to do with a narcissist.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 You did the right thing, right? But again, it started with that awareness.
Uh-huh.
You had the awareness, and it sounds like when he tried to put the wedge between you and your son, it was like, "Oh, no. This this is this is not right. This is not okay," right?
Yeah.
And so that accepting of, "Well, I'm gonna have to leave this relationship." And then you took the necessary action steps to do that. A
Uh-huh.
lot of times when clients come into therapy, the interesting thing is when, people a lot of times when people are experiencing narcissistic abuse, the narcissist has been the one to tell them to come into therapy. It's
Oh, well,
very
because everything's
interesting.
their fault, right? Everything's their fault. So
Exactly.
that makes sense. Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. So they tell them, "Oh, you need to get help. You're broken. You're this. You're that." And so they come into therapy to try to fix themselves so that they can fix their relationship.
yeah. Right.
So they come in almost sometimes with zero awareness
Oh my
of
gosh.
what is happening in the relational pattern. And how
Interesting.
that behavior is impacting them, and how they've been on danger, danger, danger 24/7, 365 for maybe double digit years or more. It depends, but they don't realize the how those things are connected. They recognize the person's behavior is not okay, but they don't recognize how it's showing up in their body and how they're showing up in their life, and
Yeah.
those sorts of things. So we
Y-
help them with that awareness.
Do you have unexplained tension, fatigue, or even gut issues that never seem to go away? Sometimes your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. Join our Women's Childhood Abuse Healing Workshop, where we'll help you tune into your body and begin healing from the inside out.
One of the things that came up for me now, this was more so in my first marriage because we were married, we were together like 30 years and
Mm.
we were married. We were together 30 but married for 25.
Mhm.
Your lives are so intertwined at that point, right?
Yes.
And that's the part that is really challenging. That was the one of the most challenging parts for me was unwinding that life that we had spent together that was
Okay.
so deeply intertwined. And honestly, I didn't want the divorce for sure, but I knew I needed the divorce. And that was so hard, was like, how do I unwind all that? And so you've got that. And then if you add on top of that, the narcissistic abuse and you add children to that, it is extremely complicated. And I know a lot of people that I know that have children
Mhm.
didn't leave their narcissistic marriage until the children were grown.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really a difficult. I mean, no one can make that decision for the person. Each
Yeah.
individual, as many people as this is happening to, as many decisions, individual decisions that need to be made, because there's no one right way or wrong way to
Right.
navigate these. Um, but sometimes the awareness is the things that you're experiencing in your body because of this antagonistic relationship, your children are experiencing it
Yep.
too.
Yep.
And, and
Mm.
so it's sometimes the idea of, oh, I'll stay to protect the children is actually the opposite. But, again, it's so individualized.
It is. It's
Um,
complicated. It's
it's
very
very
complicated. There's
complicated.
nothing like a narcissistic relationship. There is
Yes.
nothing else like it. And the craziness that goes with a narcissistic relationship. It really is
Yeah.
crazy. It's just
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
so
It,
here's some more good
okay.
questions. What are some common myths about narcissistic abuse that make healing harder?
Oh, this is a good
I
question.
know, right? What are
Yeah,
some
these are great
common myths?
questions.
Yeah, about narcissistic abuse that makes healing harder.
Okay. I think one of the things that makes healing harder is the myth that they can change.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. I knew it. And you're so right.
Yeah. It's that again, when you, especially like if you have a victimy narcissist, right? Like the woe is me, I could have been a contender, right? And to an empath, right?
Yeah.
That's like, oh my gosh, right? How could we? Like it's just so difficult. And so the idea that I can just give them another chance, or let me just give them benefit of the doubt, or
I see their
you know,
potential.
I see their potential, or oh, but what I say is um doubt never needs a benefit, and
Ooh,
the devil never needs an advocate. So you don't have
ooh,
to have devil's advocates, and you don't have to give people benefit of the doubt.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
one of the major myths that they can change.
You know what? Let me say this real quick because I thought this was really profound to me when I learned this. But I used to go into giving people the benefit of the doubt. Oh, I trust you. I don't know you at all, but
Mhm,
I trust you because I'm just going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And I cannot tell you how many times I got burned because I gave the benefit of the doubt and I gave it to the wrong person.
mhm.
And now you have to, and this might sound a little harsh, and it's not as harsh as it sounds, but you have to earn your way in for me to trust you. You have to show me that I can
Absolutely.
trust you. You have to show me that you're a safe place. It doesn't mean that I walk into a new person and I just don't trust him at all. And but I observe and take notes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All human relationships, no matter if it's friendship, professional, intimate, even familial, all human relationships grow organically in the same manner. And that is know, like, and trust. And if the relationship is operating out of that order, we're going to feel disrupted.
Yeah,
So it has to go in that order. We've got to get to know the person. As we get to know them, we start to like them a little bit more. And
right.
then with that consistency of behaviors, then we start to develop trust with them. It should not go trust, no, it's a
Yeah.
none, if it goes out of order, it's not right.
Cause,
We're
cause
going
I'll
to feel
tell
it in our body.
Because I'll tell you what would happen with me is I would go into trusting him. I would like him right away. And oh, they're in my wheelhouse. They're in my circle here. And then they would do because I didn't get to know them. Right. And then all of a sudden they do something like maybe they are a narcissist. And then I'm shocked and
Yeah.
I'm just hurt. And I'm just, and then I would go deep within and I would get depressed about it. And like, why didn't I see that? And just this whole cycle thing. And I had to put the brakes on with that. And, in my healing, I also, um, I don't have the same friends that I did. I have some friends that are, I've had friends for many, many years, but there's a lot of them that I'm not friends with anymore. And I'm not saying anything negative about them. Maybe I just outgrew them. But
Hmm.
that was a vicious cycle that I was in
Hmm.
for years.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you have that awareness and your healing journey, because as we heal and do our personal work, people will fall away, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're changing. There's a great
Yeah.
like meme. It's all over the socials, and it is a caterpillar and a butterfly, and the caterpillar says to the butterfly, "You've changed." And the butterfly says, "Yes, I know. Thank you." Right? And
Ooh,
so
I like that.
yeah. And so, but that's the thing. As we grow and we change, not everybody's still going to be able to rock with us. And
Right.
not everybody
Right.
deserves to still be able to rock with us, because they still want us to be a caterpillar when we're all flying around as our butterfly self.
Yep. Yep. And it's also been my experience that they'll turn on you because you've outgrown them. They don't like
Yeah.
that. So
Yes.
they're not your people. And sometimes people are in our life for a season, reason, or a lifetime.
Yep. Yep.
So
Absolutely.
there is that. So yeah,
Hmm.
I love that. Okay. So why do survivors often feel stuck in the relationship even when they know it's toxic? And I know you kind of touched on
Yeah.
this, that we talked about this, that people are staying in, but why do you think that? Because that's the thing that a lot of people, I don't understand why you don't just leave. Just leave them. Just leave them. It's not that
Oh,
easy. If only
it
it
is.
was that easy.
Yes, that is so difficult, right? And I think if people take one thing away, if they have friends or family members or loved ones that are experiencing antagonistic relational stress or in relationships with narcissists, please don't ever ask that question, why don't you just leave?
Yeah.
It is so uh difficult, right? there are so many different reasons why that person has to make the decision that they have to make at that moment. And again, it could be that they are caught in that cycle of the manipulation and they're still
Mm-hmm.
giving them the benefit of the doubt, or they're giving them one more chance or things like that. There could be cultural reasons around
Ooh, yeah.
my family doesn't support divorce, or my religion, or there's the fear of losing everything in the world, the ground opening up and
Yeah.
swallowing them whole. If I am enmeshed in a culture, a system, a society that's pretty close, and how am I good? I'm not just leaving this person. Now I'm leaving my church. I'm
Yeah.
leaving all my friends. What if it's a family member, right? Like I'm just going to never speak to my sister again because my mom is a narcissist, right? Because of course, if the mom narcissist does, they're going to get the sister to be the flying monkey and be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, if your sister doesn't talk to me, you can't talk to your sister. So their fear of being isolated or losing their family. So there's so many
And there's
different
reality
nuance.
to that too. There's
Yes, because
absolutely, when you're dealing with a narcissist, they get very revengeful. There's truth to that.
absolutely. And then that's another one, the fear of the smear campaign. I did
Yes.
a video one time around the fear of the smear campaign because what we know to be true is it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yep.
It's going to
100%.
happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
if or when. If you leave a narcissist, they will do the smear campaign.
Yep.
And
That's
so
the
how
card
do
they
we
pull
learn
out.
to, yes, exactly. So how do we learn to ground and detach from that messaging? How do we learn to be okay with other people not knowing your truth and your reality
I know,
and
because the
believing
truth is,
that's yours? Yeah,
the scary thing about the narcissist is the outward people won't know they're a narcissist.
that's
They're
right.
great. They're charismatic. They're just these wonderful people to them, right? Because they've got their
Absolutely.
mask on and they've got to have that appearance. And so all this crap is happening behind the scenes that's horrific that nobody else sees. And then they start up with the smear campaign, which
Absolutely.
he tried that on me. He actually, when he was dying, his quote unquote friend, who the friend was a friend to him, but he wasn't a friend to him.
Hmm.
He just told him all kinds of horrible things about me that weren't true. And
Yeah.
after Dennis passed, these people turned on me. And
Yeah.
honestly, I was like, what is going on? I don't understand. Of course, now I look back on it and I know exactly what happened. But at the time, I didn't know what was going on. That
Yeah.
smear campaign will just, how do we deal with that?
I mean, it is really, really difficult. Getting to a getting to a place of not taking that personal and being okay with these people believing something about us that's not true. Because
That I'm,
that goes against our human nature.
yeah, it
Our
does.
human nature is we want to be seen, we want to be understood, we want to be heard, because that's about connectivity. That's
And that's
if
not
it's
me.
human.
That's that person that he told you. That's not me. I mean,
Exactly.
these people
Hmm.
even stole my stuff. They even came over to my house and stole my stuff.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was just, thank God it was only a short time in my life. But I
Hmm.
honestly, it's been, oh gosh, I don't know, 15 years, but I still get angry.
Yeah, yeah. And anger is natural and righteous because anger is our natural human response to injustice. And you were done an injustice by being in a relationship with a narcissist or a person with antagonistic personality. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was an
Mm-hmm.
injustice. You didn't deserve that.
You know, and and it still goes in waves. It's a lot better. The anger's a lot better, you
Hmm.
know. And I think understanding and seeing the picture of what happened and understanding who Dennis was, and
Hmm.
looking back on that, and it helps. It's still a little check in my heart though that just, oh, just it hurts. It really hurts because and this is a man that I was there till he took his last breath. I protected him by choice. By
Yeah.
choice, because what happened is when I had decided that I was going to leave, but I had
Hmm.
to make plans and I was planning it, we found out that his cancer had changed and progressed and it was very aggressive. And so um, at that moment I said, okay, I'm going to put a break on that and we're going to focus on him and getting him
Hmm.
better
Mhm.
and working on, because it was a lot of work that we were
Yeah,
going to have to do.
yeah.
And then we found out that no, it wasn't working and he was going to pass. I
Mhm.
stayed with him to the very end. That was the right thing to do. I don't regret it.
Yeah,
Look what he
yeah.
left me with. He left me with people that turned on me.
Absolutely, absolutely. We as empaths, as givers, as healers, as the juicy meat prey to these predators, we do not get to give up being who we are
I
because they're
know.
horrible.
I know.
We can't. We
I
can't not be
know.
who we are.
I
And you
know.
did the right thing because that's what your
Hmm.
heart said. And you gave till the end. And he didn't deserve it, but it wasn't about him. It was about you.
It
You had to
was.
stay true to you.
Right. 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 And I don't, again, like I said, I don't regret it. I would do it again. I would do it again because you know
Hmm.
what? He would have died
Uh-huh.
alone.
Yeah.
He'd have died alone because there was nobody that was around him, only me.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and you know, I loved him, but I hated him. I was at a point where I loved him, but I hated him.
Yeah. And that's another reason, going back to the question, why people, you can't say, why don't you just leave? Because it's not black and white.
It's
It's not all or
not.
nothing. If a narcissist was horrible all the time, everybody would leave. But
Yes.
that's why we have what I call the slap kiss cycle
Yeah. The
and
manipulation.
the manipulation, right? So why do people kind of find themselves stuck in a slot machine all day, right?
Ooh, right.
Because of intermittent reward cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It pays out just enough to keep you engaged.
Yes.
And that's the slap kiss cycle. I'm going to
Ooh.
slap and kiss you just enough to make sure you stay right here and
That's
don't
a
leave.
that's a great example. And that is so true. Because as soon as they see you pulling away, then they turn on the charm and the
Mhm,
manipulation and
exactly.
they pull you back in.
Absolutely.
Oh, it just is such a mind bender. Oh. Um,
Healing is hard, but healing alone is even harder. If you're craving connection with women who get it, the women's healing community is here for you. There's no judgment, only real conversations, healing tools, and a circle of support. Click below to sign up now.
what does thriving after narcissistic abuse look like in your experience?
Ooh, I love
Right
this
here, right
question.
here,
Yes, right there. Yes,
right here.
yes. Yes, what that looks like is the ability to stop doing this. Is it
Yeah.
safe? Is it safe? Danger, danger, danger. And do this,
Yep. 100%.
right? That whole nervous system gets to eventually relax.
Yep.
That prefrontal cortex gets to come back online. We get to own our voice. We stop second guessing ourselves. We get to set and hold boundaries for ourselves. We get to love ourselves and
Yeah.
be able to eventually work on creating new trusting bonds with people who are safe. Now, that's a long journey, but
Yeah.
that's what it looks like. It is
Eh,
that
yeah.
serenity out of that chaotic world that we try to help our clients get
Right.
to.
And here's the thing, everyone. Don't be discouraged by that because you're right. It is a long road and there's a lot of stuff you need to work on. But we're on our healing journey till we take our last breath. And let me tell you,
Absolutely.
there are rewards that you can't even imagine when you work on your healing and you overcome some of this stuff. I can't even begin to tell you. And I was talking with a friend the other day and we were talking about that. And it's like that first time that you have that aha moment or that first time you have that, I call it a measure of healing where you feel it and you're like, and for me, that's what like, oh, I like that a lot. I'm going to seek after that some more. And there's
Yes.
nothing like that. So don't be discouraged because I'll tell you, not doing the work, things are only going to get worse. Doing the work, it's going to get better. It's going to be baby
Mhm.
steps
Mhm.
sometimes. Sometimes it'll be a big jump, but most of them are baby steps. But I'm telling you, it's not long and you look back, like even if you look back 6 months ago, you're like, oh, wow. I have a
Yep.
completely different mindset than I did 6 months ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is so worth it. I love that you just said that. And it's a journey and it's a
Yeah.
process, right? And those little wins along the way, first time you're able to, um, own your voice, able to
Yeah.
not be sucked back in, all the little wins, and as you get again, it's working out. Like we're training
Yep.
ourselves and building ourselves up, right? So over time, we're just getting stronger and stronger.
Yep.
But we have to, not be engaged in that in order to kind of get that strength. Now, for people who have to be in the relationship for whatever their decision reason, either the children, finances, whatever that is, if they still have to be in relationship with the person, healing is still possible.
Yes.
It's still
Yes.
possible. It's
Yes.
still worth starting that healing journey now with awareness,
Yes.
acceptance, and action. Because
Yes.
there are things that we can help support the person with. I mean, some of the classic stuff like gray rocking and firewalling, because you can't set boundaries with a narcissist. That is just not possible. They're boundary bulldozers. It's just not possible. So we
Boundary
don't want to try
bulldozers.
to yeah, we don't want to set people up for failure by saying set boundaries. No, that's not how that works. But we figure out ways of interacting and communicating and coexisting. And we
Yeah.
have to do the grief. We have to go through the grief of the loss of the idea of the person we wanted versus the person we have.
Oh, that's important. Why don't we touch on that? Because that is so true. The grief of realizing they aren't going to be as opposed to who we thought that they were.
Exactly.
Yeah, there is a grief to
Mm-hmm.
that. So how does someone accept that? How do they work to get to the point where they accept that? Because unless someone
Oh,
tells you that, that's hard to realize that.
yeah. And I think that that's something that kind of has to happen in the therapeutic relationship, right? I think that's something that getting with a good narcissistic abuse informed therapist is
Mm-hmm.
what is necessary. Like our practice, we're all, this is one of our specialties, but it's absolutely necessary because one, grief is not linear.
Mm-hmm.
And grief, we may not name it as grief, right? So first,
Right.
to be able to have the awareness of what is happening for that person, right? That sense of loss, and going through that non-linear journey of, we make a couple of steps forward, then we go back, and then we go this way, and then we go this way, and then sometimes we go, oh, right,
Yeah.
around the whole
Yep.
roller
Yep.
coaster of emotions, because it's not that easy. So take narcissistic traits and narcissistic abuse out of the equation. A relationship between two humans, deciding to end that and separate that, is the most difficult things that a human has to do,
Yeah.
period.
Mm-hmm.
Now add that back in
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
realize how difficult and complex and layered now that becomes. And so that's, we just kind of help the client get to that level of awareness and hold space for them
Yeah.
on that grieving journey. But it's absolutely necessary. We can't get over here to radical acceptance and be free of it, whether the person's sitting next to us or they're gone. We can't get over here to radical acceptance without going through that process.
Okay. Yeah.
But we can.
Wow. That is so interesting. Okay. So, what tips do you have for someone who is realizing they're in a narcissistic relationship? They don't know what next step they need to take.
Okay, so I think the next step, there's a couple of next steps.
Okay.
The first is assessing for their safety,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Are they in emergent danger, right? Like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because if they are in danger, then looking for a therapist isn't the first thing to do. They need to figure out that safety plan. They might need to go to some sort of supported domestic violence situation so that they
Mm-hmm.
can be safe, right? But so assessing for their own safety. Then I would say, where's your tribe? Where's your family? Where's your crew? Who supports you? Where are your friends, your family of choice? Whatever that looks like. Who do you have anybody that you can touch with, that you can do your reality testing.
Yeah.
Because that gaslighting, walking on
Yep.
shelves, eggshells, self-doubt, don't know up from down, Tuesday from Thursday,
Yep.
that they keep you in all the time. We need somebody who's grounded and outside of that,
I call them
that
normal.
well, we need to touch base with them to have those reality checks,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
We need that. So
Yeah.
that would be my second thing. And then, of course, seeking professional help.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it
Yeah.
alone, right? Like it's possible, but it's already hard. Why make it harder? Let's go ahead and get with a narcissistic, abuse informed and trauma informed therapist
Yes.
that can help you and be that additional grounding source, that space holder, that hope holder, whatever that is, that looks like, until you can make a plan and decide what you need to do to make that different, because it's not easy.
That's one thing I really want to emphasize too, is you do need, in this arena, you do need trauma therapy. Regular talk therapy has its place, but when it comes to this narcissistic abuse or trauma, you need someone that specializes in that area, because it's not just, we don't just talk it out. Because the thing is, the thing I know what's true for me is that when I'm remembering something, it's not just that I'm remembering it, I'm reliving it.
Yes, because the brain
I'm
doesn't
reliving
have a
it.
clock. Yeah, I'd say that all the time. The brain does not have a clock. It does
That's,
not know if this, what I'm seeing on TV in this commercial, is happening to me right now, or if it's the same thing that happened to me when I was 7.
wow. Yep. It's
It
so
it
true.
if the brain's like danger, 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 it
Right.
does not know. It does not know. All it knows is danger, and it's going to start reacting.
And part of the training is we begin to train our brain. No, 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 I'm
Mhm,
safe, right? Because that's what I'll do. If I feel I'm being triggered or something is upsetting me, for
mhm.
instance, I don't like going into garages when they're working on cars. There's a
Mm,
past
mhm,
thing to it. My brother used to throw tools around and scream and rant and rave so today I'm safe, right?
mhm.
But I can still, when I go into a garage and there's loud noises, I feel my body going and I'm like, no, 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 it's okay. I'm safe.
Yep,
We're okay.
yep, mhm,
And
mhm.
I can bring myself down. So that is what's so empowering, that we can get to that point.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
Dr. Deborah, I've got one question I always ask.
okay.
What do you want to leave our listeners with?
Oh, okay. This, talking about antagonistic relational stress and narcissistic abuse, it's a heavy topic, and people who
Yeah.
have experienced it have gone through some of the most challenging pain that they can go through. But I really want to leave people with knowing that hope is possible, that this can be different, that they can be different. Their narcissist can't be different,
Right.
but they can be different.
Right.
That they actually have choice and agency that they didn't think they had because the narcissist told them they didn't.
Correct.
But hope and healing is real and it's possible. And that's what I want to leave people with.
I have a friend who, she's actually a partner in crime with me on my women's childhood abuse healing workshop. And she was in a narcissistic marriage.
Hmm.
And I just lost my train of thought. I hate it when I do that. What was I going to say about that? Doggone it. It was really important too. Oh, this is what she was going to say. Sorry. That when we talk about the narcissistic abuse and stuff, one of the
Hmm.
things, one of the things a lot of people ask her, oh, what's the red flags I should look for? And her point is,
Hmm.
look within.
Yeah.
Work on this, because this, when you, and it's true, is I lived it, she's living it, and
Hmm.
I know a lot of other people. When you work on this and you change this, you're not drawn to a narcissist anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The healing is here. This is what's in our control.
Exactly. This is the only thing in control.
Yeah,
I found that out
exactly.
several years ago, and
Yes.
this is the only thing I can control. This is it. And everything
Yep.
else is you're on your own. Well, Dr. Deborah, thank you for giving a lot of clarification. And, I've done a lot of studying on this, but I'm still learning, and I still learn some stuff from you. And I appreciate that. So thank you so much. How could our listeners contact you if they wanted to? Everything will be in the show notes, but why don't you share with us how they could reach out to you?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. And this has been such a great conversation. I
Yeah.
love uh, providing that information for your audience. And so, how can people contact me at 3D Psychotherapy? So, on the socials, it's the number three, the letter D, psychotherapy. On Instagram, it's at the 3D Psychotherapy. And they can go to our website, which is www, the number three, letter D, psychotherapy.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This has been enlightening. It's not a fun subject, but I feel like it's so important to get the right information out there, so that people can take the right steps.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for
Thank
this
you. Thank
opportunity.
you.